Welcome back everyone to another exciting ride here on View. Today I'm taking you back to 1960, a time when American cars were not just modes of transportation but rolling statements of style, power, and futuristic optimism. The car we're diving into is the 1960 Plymouth Fury, one of the most dramatic and fascinating machines to ever roll out of Chrysler's Plymouth division. This is a car that carried forward the spirit of the 50s while ushering in a new look for the 60s, a car that stood out boldly at the time and still sparks conversation whenever it shows up today. The very first thing that strikes you about the 1960 Fury is its design. If you park this car anywhere, it doesn't just sit quietly, it practically shouts for attention. During the late 50s, Chrysler's design language under Virgil Exner was called the forward look, which emphasized futuristic lines, big fins, and sweeping profiles. By 1960, the Fury had evolved into something sleeker, less exaggerated but no less dramatic. The famous tailfins were still there, but instead of pointing straight up like knives, they were canted outward, almost like aircraft wings tilted at an angle, giving the rear of the car a look that was unlike anything else on the road. These fins were paired with unique oval-shaped taillights, a feature that made the car's backside instantly recognizable. The front end was equally bold, with pointed fenders, a wide aggressive grille, and quad headlights that gave it a confident, almost predatory stance. From the side, the car looked long and low, with a sweeping character line that emphasized its futuristic appearance. Step inside and the sense of modernity continues. Plymouth wanted its interiors to feel ahead of their time, and the Fury's cabin was a showcase of style mixed with engineering flair. The dashboard stretched across in a sweeping design, with instruments laid out in a way that felt almost like a jet cockpit. One of the coolest features was the push-button transmission selector located to the left of the steering wheel. Instead of a gearshift lever, you simply pressed a button to select your drive mode, a little detail that made the driver feel like they were in command of some futuristic machine. The steering wheel was large, as was typical of the time, but it was beautifully styled. Depending on trim level, the interior was finished in a combination of cloth and vinyl or more upscale materials, giving owners the ability to tailor their Fury to their taste. Whether you chose a two-door hardtop, a four-door sedan, a convertible, or even a station wagon, Plymouth gave you plenty of options. Now let's talk performance, because under that stylish skin, the 1960 Fury was no slouch. At the entry level, you could get the durable slant-six engine, which was practical and reliable for everyday use. But the real heart of the Fury was in its V8 options. Plymouth offered everything from a 318 cubic inch V8, which was a nice balance of power and efficiency, all the way up to larger big block engines like the 361 and the 383 cubic inch motors. Horsepower numbers varied depending on configuration, but certain setups pushed comfortably past the 300 horsepower mark, which was serious performance in 1960. For those who wanted more excitement, there were dual carburetor options that gave the Fury an even stronger punch. Transmission choices included a standard 3-speed manual, a 4-speed manual in rare cases, and of course, the famous TorqueFlite automatic. The TorqueFlite paired perfectly with the push-button selector, and it was one of the smoothest and most advanced automatics available at the time. On the road, the Fury wasn't a sports car, but it was a confident highway cruiser. Thanks to its torsion bar front suspension and long wheelbase, it delivered a comfortable and stable ride. Handling was decent for such a large car, and while the drum brakes were a limitation of the era, the overall driving experience was smooth and commanding. This was a car built for wide American highways, and in that setting, it truly excelled. One of the most interesting things about the 1960 Fury is how people reacted to it. The styling was bold, maybe too bold for some, and it became one of those cars you either loved or didn't quite understand. The outward canted fins especially divided opinions. To some buyers, it was daring and futuristic, while to others, it seemed a little strange. But that's part of what makes the Fury such a standout today. It wasn't a car that blended into the crowd, and decades later, that uniqueness makes it even more special. In terms of market position, the Fury had an important role to play. Plymouth was trying to establish itself in a competitive field against Chevrolet and Ford. The Fury was meant to be stylish and powerful, yet still accessible compared to Chrysler's more luxurious models. It was a middle ground offering that aimed to appeal to families who wanted practicality but also a dose of flair, and to younger buyers who wanted something that looked fast and modern even standing still. Looking at it now, the 1960 Plymouth Fury occupies a fascinating place in classic car culture. It's not as universally celebrated as the wild-finned cars of the late 50s or the muscle cars that came a few years later, but it has carved out a loyal following among enthusiasts. When you see one at a car show, especially a well-preserved or restored example, it immediately draws a crowd. Those oval taillights and outward fins are like nothing else, and if it's packing a big block V8 under the hood, it still has the muscle to back up its looks. Collectors appreciate it for being unique, and while restoring one can be challenging due to the scarcity of certain parts, the reward is owning a rolling piece of automotive art. The Fury also reflects the optimism of its time. The early 60s were full of talk about rockets, space travel, and the future. Automakers wanted to tap into that excitement, and Plymouth did so with the Fury's daring lines and forward-thinking features. Driving one today feels like stepping back into an era when cars were more than transportation, when they were expressions of culture, technology, and dreams of the future. So, when you put it all together, the 1960 Plymouth Fury was more than just another car in Plymouth's lineup. It was a statement piece. It brought bold design, a variety of powertrains, and innovations like the push-button transmission to the everyday buyer. It may not have been universally loved when it was new, but over time its uniqueness has made it a standout classic. It's a car that captures the spirit of its era perfectly, combining optimism, drama, and power in a way only American cars of that time could. That's our deep dive into the 1960 Plymouth Fury, a car that might not have conquered the sales charts but has absolutely conquered the hearts of enthusiasts who appreciate bold design and classic American engineering. If you enjoyed this journey through one of the most distinctive cars of its decade, make sure you hit that like button and share this with fellow car lovers. And most importantly, don't forget to subscribe to VeloView, because we've got plenty more classic reviews, histories, and stories of the cars that shaped the world. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.